Hi guys and welcome back to Hairdryer Treatment. I've got a very special guest on today, Adam. I don't think I've had you on Hairdryer Treatment. Is this your debut?
It
Long time
is.
no speak as well. But firstly, how are you doing and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, Sophie. It is my debut. I just seen some in the comments there. How did you get Matic on for a live chat? The name's still sticking. The name's still sticking. I know. I changed my hair, cut my hair, do everything, but it still sticks. I can't do anything. But yeah, all good. Manchester just into tier 3 this weekend. So same old, really. Not being able to do much out of the house, but thankfully we've still got the football, and thankfully the football got a little bit better over the last week for us. So yeah, we're doing all right. So
Definitely a little bit better. I mean, obviously the Newcastle win, a really good win. Towards the end in particular, I thought we overrun them. We looked really good on the attack. But PSG, a different test. A lot of people were writing us off before that game. And I remember I was talking to Flex actually on the morning saying I had a niggling feeling. I had a little feeling that something special was going to happen. And I didn't put it out there because you can't put it out there with United. You can't be overly confident. But I had a feeling, I had that niggle. But how good was that? Last time against PSG, there was an element of luck involved. But this time around, it was different, wasn't it?
yeah, it was probably the most complete performance you could say we've seen from Ole. I can't think of a game where I knew exactly what the plan was, and I could see it being implemented to a T. Because I was a bit critical at the start with having two, well, not even holding midfielders. I still don't class McTominay and Fred as holding midfielders, but I was a bit critical there. Thought we could have had one of Van der Beek or Pogba in there, but to be honest, I wasn't also expecting Fred to step up the way he did, because I gave Fred my man of the match. I thought he was just immense. His calmness on the ball, his just composure around tricky situations, and then picking the right pass and the right time to pass, which is just as important. But he just seemed to work well with McTominay there, and we've always got a chance with our front three. But obviously, the shining light of that game was our defence, I thought so, because we were absolutely rock solid in defence. De Gea back to his old tricks. Wan-Bissaka came back. Axel, superb debut for Telles. I couldn't fault any player at all in the performance. It was, like we said, a team performance, and that is something we haven't seen for a long, long time. It was, like you said, completely different. There was no luck at all in that game. We deserved everything we got out of it, and I'm just happy that Marcus bagged as well at the end there as well, because I think his work rate and what he has been putting in is going unsung. He gets a lot of criticism. I was just buzzing when he banged that one in the end. It was brilliant.
Yeah, because I think you could almost see what Twitter was going to be like afterwards. If we
Yeah,
ended up not scoring and then PSG getting a lucky penalty or whatever, people obviously had that niggling feeling that when you don't take chances, you're going to be punished against the best teams. And that was the thought that went through my mind. And I'm just glad that Rashford, before people could even say anything, he put that chance away, obviously, and he scored the winner. And as I say, strikers, I don't think he had his best game, Rashford, but you get judged on scoring goals, and he scored the winner. And what you always get with him is a work rate, 100%, always willing to run in behind and stretch teams as well. And like I thought all game though on the counter attack we looked threatening. Like I
we
mentioned, the
did.
Newcastle game at the end, our counter attack, it's scary. But against PSG, constantly all night, we looked threatening, didn't they? Even if PSG scored, I still felt we could outscore them. That's how confident I was watching that game.
Yeah, 100%. The second half, I mean, I was critical in the sense of we were so wasteful, because we were creating chances, and I was going on and on and on. I'm like, come on, we have to be a bit more clinical, because we know what's going to come the other end. As poor as people are saying PSG's team were, when you've got Di Maria, Mbappe, and Neymar as your front three, something can always happen. That goes to show how well our defence did. But going forward, like you said, then we were creating chances, but that final ball was just lacking. And just to touch on Rashford there was moments in that second half where he was making the wrong decisions, and like you said, you could see the backlash building up on social media already for it. And it was just a case. I had a tweet literally about 5 minutes before, get Rashford off. He's done nothing all game, and I just noticed in the middle of that second half, he just started to just hold on to the ball a little bit, take his time, play the simple ball, build his way back in. And you know what? It was just a sign of maturity for me, because normal Rashford would just be keep on going hell for leather, but he just changed it a little bit, eased his way in. Because let's not forget, he had that shot which the keeper saved just before that as well, very similar to his
Yeah.
goal. And then he got his second chance, bang, in it goes, game over. Perfect time to score. He likes a late one, doesn't he, in Paris? But You know what? I think over the last 2 games, we've had performances off players that we all needed to see because we were losing confidence and faith that these players had anything in them. And I know it's only 2 games. I'm not getting carried away, but just to give us a sign that there is something still there. And you know what? We got it. We got the sign, and it was good to see because chances and creating chances, yeah, you can miss a few, but as long as you're creating them, something's going right, and that goes with the whole build-up as well. So defence to midfield to attack, it looks good because when you've got that many chances to score a goal, there's obviously a system there. There's obviously a way. You've done your tactics, you've done your own work, and it's obviously working. It's set putting the ball in the back of the net, but I'd rather be missing chances than creating nothing and wondering where it's coming from. Put it that way.
Yeah, I think the transition from defence to attack was just much faster. And against Newcastle, it was much faster, and that's why we're catching teams out. So often, I think we've seen players taking a safe pass, passing sideways, passing backwards. And I know Bruno does it in particular, but we've seen Matic do it. We've seen yourself do it, Adam. But playing that quick ball from defence to attack, like I say, Rashford willing to run into the channels. When he played centrally against Newcastle, I thought he looked really good in that role because he offers that a bit more than Martial. Martial's more of a come-to-feet kind of player. We know his link-up play is really good, whereas Rashford's willing to spin off in behind into the channels. And yeah, I think attacking-wise, I think we look really scary. We look terrifying. When it all comes together, it's just, I'd say, I can't remember the last time we had an attack this exciting, other than obviously we were talking about it in our prime time, but post-Fergie, this attack,
Yeah.
it's exciting, isn't it? So yeah, I'm buzzing for that. But defensively, there's been a lot of questions, and we're going to talk about Axel in a minute because he was superb, and Lindelof as well deserved a lot of credit because he's had his haters of late as well. Thank you for the super chat, PSG. Hey Adam and Soph, do you think Axel and Victor should be our first choice centre back pairing going forward? Axel complemented Victor really well against PSG. To Nzabi, considering he'd been out for however many months it was, to come in and face Neymar and Mbappe and take it the way that he did. I mean, Villa fans were screaming they wanted to keep Nzabi at the club. Obviously, he was out on loan there, had a good season on loan. Injuries are a concern with him. But the way that he played, and like you say, with Lindelof as well, and Shaw as a left centre-back, it was immense, wasn't he?
He was absolutely ridiculous. I was fearing, thinking, oh, God, you know what? It was a case of he was the only one we had left to put in that centre-back role, really, because everyone was dropping out. Bailly dropped out before, and Maguire was injured. So it was like, really, we could have done with...
It was him or Foster, basically.
Exactly. We could have done with easing the Axel in, not throwing him right into the lion's den, really. But it's a sink or swim. It's like throwing someone in at the deep end, see if you can swim or not. And you know what? He was stride for stride with Mbappe, which we all know is no mean feat. His tackling, his timing, his reading of the game, his strength is immense. I mean, I've been there at a game where I think it was Southampton and seen him warming up. The guy is a unit. He is an absolute unit. He's got the pace and the power, and he is absolutely awesome as a centre-back. People were criticising me for giving him hype because he's only just come back. But I seen what he was doing last season. And his standard has not changed. He's not had a bad game. He plays exactly the same way every single game. It don't matter who he's alongside him. I think he is one who's probably going to be a mainstay. Because to come into a game like that and adapt to it quickly, on the conversation of Lindelof with him, it all depends on if he goes with the 3 at the back again. I think Lindelof suited the 3. Rather than playing with a 2, personally. I think that's why Lindelof looks good as well. The fact that we had a bit of power and pace next to Lindelof, you'd have the argument then, and we all know Harry Maguire's probably going to come back in because he's the captain. I'm one for saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There are obviously tweaks you can make to that team, and it just depends on the formation. Lindelof had a very good game. He had an excellent game, in fact. And the fact that Axel was there with him, Shaw was there with him, and we knew we had the confidence out wide for cover with Telles and Wan-Bissaka as well. The confidence seemed to be, and when that defence knows you've got De Gea on form as well behind them, it just breathes confidence into that defence, and they just looked solid. They looked like they wanted to play ball, pass the ball, and you know what? I don't know about you, so, but I wasn't that scared. I didn't fear too much of thinking backs to the wall or anything. I was confident that they were holding out.
Yeah, I think for
changes
me,
a foot maybe, but I can't see him keeping the same team for weekend if Harry Maguire's back, unfortunately. But they all played well and deserve to be in that team at weekend.
I agree. I'd say the only fear I had is that we've seen it so often already, stupid mistakes. I was expecting us to make a stupid mistake, and that was my only fear. I didn't think they were going to break us down. I didn't think they were troubling us too much. I was just fearing that there's going to be some kind of mistake, and fair play, there wasn't a mistake. I agree with you. If I was Ollie, I wouldn't change it. However, Harry Maguire being back fit for me, I'll walk straight back into the starting lineup as skipper. I think that'll happen. And after scoring against Newcastle, you can kind of see why Ollie would do that. Obviously, Maguire would take confidence from that. But Tuanzebe was quality. Lindelof was quality as well. If we go for 5 at the back, I guess the only one you might put a question over is Luke Shaw. Will Luke Shaw be removed from that to accommodate Harry Maguire? That could possibly happen, and Tellez starting. Or obviously we get Tellez off and then Luke Shaw starts instead of him. But on the subject of Tellez, how good did he look? I mean, for his debut, again, into a massive game, a lot of pressure, and he just seemed to fit right in.
You know what? Ollie's got a knack of getting these players who hit the ground running, hasn't he? I know a few have dropped off a little bit drastically recently. A good job they've all started to come back to form again now. But when they first come in, all his signings, they all seem to hit the ground running. I can't think of one of his signings that hasn't been bang on point straight away. Even Dan James, when he first started last season, he was our best player. Every single one of them. So
when he's played Van der Beek, to be fair, he's looked good as well, hasn't he? So
Van der Beek's probably the only anomaly in all of this, isn't he, really, because we can't fit him in. But Tellez, going forward, and you know what, Sophie, I've not seen a player dig a ball out to get a crossing. I think last time I've seen that was probably Antonio Valencia in his heyday, because that's all he used to do, is get to the corner, and somehow he managed to get a crossing every time. But you know what, them corners, how threatening we're with his crosses, everything. But you know what, he was there when we needed him at the back. He linked up really well, and maybe Luke Shaw looks better because he's got someone like that next to him, and vice versa. It probably makes him look better. It would be interesting to see him in a back four and how different he plays then. I did think he had a bit of a free role in terms of that wing back position with the 5, because it looked like he was playing more in a midfield 5 rather than a back 5. He was that far forward, but you know what, composed on the ball. And like you said again, another player being thrown right in at the deep end. Bit like Axel coming back from injury. This is Tellez's debut. PSG away. It's no easy debut, but you know what? It stood out and did not look out of place at all, and looks like a massive improvement to our squad. I'm really, really excited to see how this goes forward with him, because you can bring in a Cavani and someone who can cross a ball like Tellez with Cavani as a centre forward in there. You know what? We've got another option now, and that's what I'm happy about. That's what I'm actually encouraged about, because the style of football we had towards the end of last season was great, but it sort of got sussed towards the end. Now it looks like we've got a plan B now. So Tellez absolutely made up for his debut. I couldn't have asked for much more.
Yeah, he was superb. I mean, I know that he didn't play a full game, but the glimpse that we did see of him, really excited to see more of him. Streaming with Alex, thank you so much for the super chat. Said, I'm worried that Ollie won't improve on what is working and instead revert back to favouring certain players. I guess I'm referring to the likes of Maguire. Do you think he can safely bring players like Pogba, Maguire and Van der Beek into this setup? To be fair, on the Pogba point, obviously we went into like a diamond, didn't we? And he played on the left. And it seemed to work. We keep saying we don't know how Bruno and Pogba are going to fit in. Van der Beek's another one to add into that mix as well. But what did you think about Pogba in that diamond on the left-hand side? Will we see more of that?
We have to. That's his position, Soph. I mean, you look in his days at Juventus, where he turned into the world-class player that we thought we were buying. Yeah, people will say he played that holding role for France. The players he had around him, he couldn't really go wrong in that French team, let's be honest. I'm looking at it as where he really made his name, which is in Juventus, and that's what he always played off the left. He had Pirlo in the middle, running and just destroying everything, and then he was just drifting off to the left and just absolutely destroying teams, because you can't pick everyone up. We've got some quality players, we've got ballers in that team. Now if you give Pogba a free role, going out on that left hand side, picking up the ball and just doing what Pogba does, mainly doing damage going forward and not defensively, then you know what, he's going to get more and more. He's going to get more and more of it. He's probably going to get in with a few more goals, and his stats will go through the roof, because Pogba there is not a Pogba in holding midfield. Yeah. He's just being sussed out in that position. And to go back to the super chat there and say, will Ollie go back to it? If he does go back to his old formation, like the 4-2-3-1 or 1-3, whichever you want to call it, then Pogba can't play for me. He can't play. There's a system where Pogba fits in. There's a couple of them, but that one doesn't work for him. It really does not work for him. And hopefully, Ollie has seen that and can adapt it in a way, because you can tweak it like we said. Doesn't have to be the same players. You can totally adapt that formation, and that formation can be adapted in play, defence to attack. So for me, I think Pogba, you can easily get Pogba, Bruno and Van der Beek in a team, only for certain games, mind. I do understand like games at PSG where you need that combative sort of solid outfit. It does still play to our advantage. We have got another option, but like I said, a plan B. I'm buzzing for plan Bs because we've looked one-dimensional for so long. He can play, yeah.
Definitely. VSG, thank you for the super chat. So Tellers' left foot is a magic wand, really. Crosses with input accuracy. Cavani and Tellers will combine really well this season, in his opinion. I completely agree with that, definitely. Big up to Saeed, United Central, in the chat.
Yes, Saeed.
Say thanks, Saeed. Go and subscribe to Saeed's channel as well. Saeed, I'll definitely get you on soon, I promise. I promise I'll get you on. 1-0 Rangers, apparently, according to Marcus. That's a big goal. That's a big goal. Thank you to Alex for the super chat. It says, for the Chelsea game, the only changes required is a switch to the back four rather than a back five. Play either Pogba or Van der Beek in place of Martial. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, a back five against Chelsea, we've seen how well it works and being disciplined. But Chelsea, you'd say defensively, aren't the most secure over. It's an interesting game, and it's quite finely balanced, this one. How would you approach it, Adam?
It's interesting in a way because we've just come off a really good defensive performance against one of the best forward lines in world football. And you look at the Chelsea game now and you go, right, okay, do we need that defence against Chelsea? Probably yes, because their strength is in the forward line. But then you're thinking, hang on a minute, like you just said, this Chelsea team has got goals leaking left, right and centre. And I'm not disillusioned. We are pretty bad at the back ourselves. I'm not going to hide away from that. But let's be honest, if we want to win a game, we could easily take this game to Chelsea. I'm thinking defensively, Axel has to play. He definitely will be the right man in terms of handling the likes of Werner and what he can bring. Then you're looking at maybe, can Havertz get on the ball and dictate the game? Does that mean we need a bit more of a solid midfield rather than a creative one? It's a tough one to call, it really is. But for me, I'm looking at it, man, so if we haven't won a game since Bournemouth at home, we need to start winning games at home. All we're doing is winning away games. We can't win them. So I think we've had that mindset going into these games, and we've just been caught every time thinking we can just go and win turnover teams. We have to be a bit more strategic about it. I think the longer the game goes on against Chelsea, the more chance we've got of winning it. So I'm all for being a bit more solid. In terms of Martial, he was probably the one player who didn't get above a 7 in the ratings for me against PSG. Still doesn't look anywhere near where he was towards the back end of last season.
Yeah.
I still, you know what I mean, is Cavani going to be available? There's a few more options to play there. Van der Beek definitely deserves a role somewhere in that team. And you know what, so does Pogba. Because one thing I have been impressed with Pogba is, and I'm interested and intrigued to see how the mentality's changed at the club behind the scenes, because he's not moaned. He's come off the bench twice and been good off the bench twice. He's just got on with it, no problem, and completely contributed to the game every time he's come on. So for me, I'm happy with it. I just don't know how long he's going to want to sit on the bench for. And will that force Ollie's arm? This is all going to be a very interesting time for Ollie now, because I was talking about the players who didn't play. We had the likes of Maguire, Matic didn't play, Van der Beek didn't start, Pogba didn't start, Greenwood didn't start. You know, you've got Cavani coming back, you've got Mata to come in whenever. We have got options galore. And it's going to be tricky. I'd rather have this tricky issue than any other, but Ollie's got a lot to decide on. He's got big decisions for this weekend, because Chelsea sussed out R5 at the back in that semi-final, so is he going to risk it again? Lampard's clever man, although he's not had a good start to the season. He did suss us in that game. I can see him going similar, you know, Soph. I really can, because I think he will be thinking about that threat that Chelsea hold going forward more than anything else. Yeah,
I agree. I think Mata's an interesting one, though. You mentioned there players that didn't play. Mata was absolutely superb against Newcastle. He ran the game, absolutely ran the game. And obviously, I felt he'd be dropped for PSG. You can't play 3 games in a week. But obviously that was before I saw how we played against PSG. I said I felt he'd be back in contention for the Chelsea game following how he played against Newcastle. But then we go and do a performance like that, and it's like, for me, I wouldn't change a winning team bar Martial. Obviously he doesn't play. But it's hard, isn't it? Like, for me, Mata deserves to start against Chelsea. Like I say, he was superb against Newcastle. But where does he fit in? And that, again, obviously, we're going to talk about Greenwood in a minute, but Greenwood's another player who didn't play. There's a lot of talk at the moment about off the pitch, timekeeping, turning up late and whatnot. There's rumours of him drinking. Like I said, there were rumours. Ollie denied them. Obviously, what happened to England as well. Are you concerned, Adam, about the negativity coming towards Greenwood at the moment?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a concern because you'd have thought he would have been. You thought he would have been tuned in after what happened with him and Foden on international duty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've had your wrist slapped once, and now he's turning up late. And you know what? I was listening to the radio today, and they had it nailed on. They brought one guy on, or an interview back from a few months ago, and that man was Ravel Morrison. This is exactly the same scenario. Last thing we need is another wasted career like Ravel Morrison's was, because that guy was touted to be one of the best coming forward, and he absolutely ruined his career. And I've listened to him, and I've listened to all his interviews since then. He said, I would give anything to get back my early days, and change things now. You know what? You can discipline these players early in the career, and maybe that will save their careers. If you don't discipline him now and come down hard on him, instead of going in with the soft approach of, oh, you're this Will Star, we've got to look after him, we can't upset him too much, he's a young lad, he's this and that. But if you teach him discipline early doors, then he's only going to last longer. Look what Ferguson did with Sharpie and Giggs. This is why Giggs had such a big career. And then look at Ravel Morrison as the complete opposite. If he goes off the rails early, who is there to discipline and change him? Because he's picked up them habits already. And as far as he's concerned, he hasn't been punished for them, so he's going to carry on doing them and making the mistakes.
Yeah.
If someone needs to come down on him, and if it is a case that he hasn't turned up late, he's been drinking or whatever it may be, I don't know about the drinking side of it. I really don't. I don't see him as that top sort of character, not in the middle of a season.
Yeah,
but if you discipline him by not letting him play in the big games, it has to sink in. It really does have to sink in sooner or later. And I'm all for it. I'm all for the heavier hand, as long as it's not too much. For, you know what, the mentality of a younger player these days is a little bit different as well.
Yeah.
But I think just leaving him out the games like Southgate did, out the squad, like Solskjaer has for the European game this week, I think that's the way to go with players. You know what, I say, well, if you want to do this, then you know what, that's not the way we're going. It's not the way that I want to move this squad forward. You sit it out until you're ready to come on board with the way that everyone else is behaving and the way that this squad is moving. And definitely, I'm not concerned because I think he has got a decent head on his shoulders. I've just prayed that he doesn't turn into a Ravel Morrison, but I am confident that he's got the right people around him. The likes of Carrick, Phelan, Solskjaer should definitely be able to get into him. He's the perfect guy who knows what it's like to come up in a very, very good squad. And you know what? You have to take your chances when you get him. That's what Solskjaer did. So I'm confident he's okay.
I agree. I think he just seems switched on, like you say. I like to show faith in him and say that I'm pretty sure he'll come out the other side of this and be a better player for it. I think there's also the element young English player. The second that happened with Foden and Greenwood, I think that's it. It's kind of like their name's marked, then the name's tarnished, and they're always an easy target for anything slightly negative. It gets blown out of proportion. I think we have to remember that as well. But yeah, I'm sure Greenwood will bounce back. I really am, and I think adding him into the mix, we've already mentioned how good we look going forwards. It's just going to make us even more exciting. So I'm excited to see him back playing football, doing what he does best. Arturo, thank you so much for the super chat. He said, would you start Mata as RWV player front three? Personally, I would. We don't know the current Greenwood situation. Personally, I would. But my only concern I'm going to say here is, obviously, Chilwell playing for Chelsea. We've also got James on the other side as well. Two fullbacks who like to get forward. Is Mata defensively going to cope with that? And I'm going to throw that to you, Adam. What's your thoughts on starting Mata against Chelsea?
Yeah, I mean, he has deserved his spot, but like I said, I've always said that Mata isn't a player that can play and can consistently play every single week. I do think there are games that suit him more than others. Newcastle was definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Or Chelsea, like you said, then with the wing backs and the way. This all depends on who dictates the game, because if we take the game to them knowing that we're confident our defence can hold up, then you take them players out the game because you force Chilwell and Reece James back.
Yeah.
So, on the other hand, that could easily happen to us, and our fullbacks can be forced back because they're pushing on. It's about who gets that tweak and just gets that formation right going forward with his tactics, because it will be whoever pushes on early will dictate exactly how this game is going to go for me. So it's all down to that team selection. If you're thinking that you're worried about what Chelsea are bringing, then Mata doesn't play. If you're thinking about what we're doing and how we're going to take the game to them, there is a spot for Mata there.
Yeah, definitely. So we know Mata, he likes to drift inside. That leaves that vulnerable then, obviously, on that right hand side for Wan-Bissaka. But Wan-Bissaka defensively, if you judge him, I mean, that PSG game, obviously, all this stuff going off on the pitch, off the pitch, sorry, I'm not really bothered about it. I'm bothered about what happens on the pitch, and he was just superb. Maybe he needs more rumours to be leaked just before a game for him to perform like that, because he was unbeatable. He was unplayable. It was superb. So I have no doubt in his ability to defend, but I just worry about the protection in front of him, because Chilwell likes to get forward. We've seen he can hit screamers. His delivery is superb as well. And that's my concern. And the same with Reece James on the other side, to be fair. Adam, thank you for the super text. Hi, Sophie and Ads. Big up to you both. I think the whole team just looked fitter, especially against Newcastle and PSG. It's great that we have options there in different formations. Van der Beek has to start soon. Van der Beek's an interesting one. He got 3 minutes or something against PSG? Obviously, we were holding on for the win there. But surely he's got to be knocking on that door, hasn't he, Adam? Every time he's come on, he's linked the play. He's got involved in a few goals. He's looked exciting. He keeps the ball well. When's he going to start?
You could easily put him in that front three on the right-hand side or the left-hand side. So if you want to do that, he can play there. We know he can. We've seen what he's like in them roles. He does come in a lot from the wing, very similar to how Martial and Rashford both do when they're out there. They like to drift in. I know Mata does it, but I know Van der Beek has got consciously a defensive mind as well. So he does help in that side of it. He has to. This is what I was saying before with Ollie having it really tough at the moment. I know it sounds stupid with that much talent around to pick from, but you bring in a player like that, he's a player that you could build a team around. You really could build a team around Van der Beek. But then again, you've got a lot of other players you can. I just feel like he's still trying to find his best team. He's still trying to figure out that midfield. His forward line is pretty much nearly there. He's nearly got it sussed, I think. There is a mix there between Greenwood, Mattoff. You've got Cavani now, Rashford, Martial. We all sort of know which way we're going with the forward line. That midfield is a massive, massive problem, because we've seen with two defensive-minded players on the night, because I still think McTominay sees himself as a forward-thinking midfielder, but with them two disciplined in holding, we never looked in trouble against a really good outfit. And it's all about that mix and that perfect blend. Van der Beek doesn't fit into that in a weird way unless you sacrifice one of the front three for me. Because Bruno's never going to lose his place. He's too influential. So I do see the shout in terms of a Martial coming out, because he's not the one who's hitting it off at the moment. Rashford's upped his game big time recently. Martial's just fallen behind a little bit again. But you know what? I know what Martial can do. We've seen what Martial can do. He is an absolute game changer.
Yeah, I think
I was talking before about the mentality of players. It's how Martial would take being dropped.
Yeah,
and that's exactly a worry.
Confidence player for me. He's a confidence player. And to be fair, we say PSG didn't really influence the game, didn't do a lot. He won the penalty, didn't he? He won the penalty.
He did. He won the penalty.
So even so, like you say, he's a big moment player. He's always, you want to keep him on because he's always got that special moment in his locker somewhere. He can produce something from nothing. And I agree with that. But you know what? Competition for me is healthy. Competition across the board. Cavani, I imagine, will push Martial on now to up the levels yet again. I think towards the end of last season, Martial at times was unplayable. He was unplayable. And I think obviously the red card hasn't helped him because he's not getting that consistent run of games. And I'm hoping that after this ban, he can really kick on. But I think Cavani will be a healthy push for him, definitely. I want to ask you about your honest opinion about, obviously, Maguire is captain. We know he's captain right now. A lot of noise for Bruno. They want Bruno to be captain. Obviously, he led the team against PSG. In the long run, do you think Bruno will eventually be the United captain?
I do. It's like Maguire's there for a while, isn't he? Let's be honest. Maguire never gets injured, and Maguire plays every game. So I don't think Ollie's one for taking a captaincy away. So it all depends how long the players are at the club, so because
Yeah.
I have no fear that Maguire is going to be our captain for years to come, simply because of how Ollie is. If Ollie's still there, if a new manager comes in, is he going to rock the boat? I don't think so. I just feel like Maguire's had way too much going on in his mind. I think that was a good settler for him against Newcastle. He's had a week off now as well, so maybe that will do him even better. He's played well against Chelsea pretty much every time, apart from that semi-final game where everyone had a mare.
Yeah.
I think Maguire will hold the captaincy there. I'd like to see Bruno's my pick 100% because he has the mentality of a winner, and I think the last time I've seen a player similar to Bruno in terms of his influence, you could maybe say Roy Keane, but I sort of marry him up to the likes of a Brian Robson sort of character. Tenacious, going forward, scoring goals, can carry the ball from box to box. And you know what? He puts in more miles than anyone, no matter what people say about him, about his distribution sometimes and what he can and can't do when he gets in certain areas. It all depends on how you like to see football played. He's a risk-reward player, and that's how I like it. I'm not going to hide away from that. And I would make him captain tomorrow. I really would. But I don't see it changing, no. I see Maguire staying captain for years to come. Well, as long as Ollie's there, Maguire will always be captain. Simple as that. I don't see him being a manager who changes captains all the time. I know we've done that in the past, but I just think Maguire is going to be our captain for a long time. I don't see it changing. There's a player in Maguire, we all know it. We all know there's a player in Maguire. He's just got to get over this personal issues that he's got off the pitch. Mm-hmm. And I think he will be back. Axel alongside him, or a different formation at the back. We may not be shouting about Maguire playing poorly anymore, because we've all said he needs someone next to him who is that little bit different, who's got that bit of pace, who can cover in and sweep more. I think Axel's got all the attributes to do that. It all depends if you play. Vic's I've just made there about Maguire playing every time he's fit. It's always going to be Maguire. The battle is always going to be now, I think, between Axel and Lindelof, and there's only one winner for me.
Lindelof as well, and I've said this before. I think in European, like Champions League, for example, where he's playing against players who tend to be a bit quicker, not as physical, Lindelof, that seems to suit him more. I think he's always been a good reader of the game, fairly quick. But when he comes up against a more physical, so in the Premier League, for example, he'll come up against more physical centre forwards, and I think that's where he's vulnerable. I've said it all the time. I think physically, in the air in particular, is where he's vulnerable, and I think that's where he gets punished. But I think in the Champions League, he proved it again the other night. He very rarely slips up in the Champions League because he is a good reader of the game. He's fairly quick. So it's an interesting one. Maybe Ollie will go down that viewpoint. Maybe he'll rotate. But I think, like I say, competition is always good. It's always helpful. But Tuanzebe for me, surely he's got to start. Like, that performance was ridiculous. I think the only way that he might not start is the fact that he's been out for so long and he was dropped in at the deep end, and they don't want to force him back too quickly and don't want to risk it. That's the only reason that for me they can't start him, because he was that good.
He starts Sophie, doesn't he? He's just come back and played against three of the best forwards in the world. I mean, we're talking about Mbappe and Neymar. These are Ballon d'Or players. These are knocking on Ballon d'Or players. But for the two other compadres, the two guys who are off the scale good, who we were lucky enough to have lived through their footballing careers. But these are both, for me, Ballon d'Or players in Mbappe and Neymar. And yes, they was off the boil, but you've got to add to that why they were off the boil.
We pressed.
And you know what? We played them.
We did. I haven't seen us be that organised and press as a team. Normally you see Bruno leading it, but when people don't follow, teams play triangles against you. Good teams will just play around you, and that's what's been happening. We were a unit, we were solid, and that's why I think Ollie deserves a lot of credit, because people slated him, saying tactically he's not good enough. That, for me, tactically, was perfect. The way that, like you say, he played PSG, he did.
He did. He played him. I give Ollie full marks for his tactics in my post-match show. I couldn't not, because I was people were saying I was really negative because I was on with Rance and Saeed before the game. I wasn't being negative. I was just, because I was all for that formation. That was the formation I picked. I just thought you know what, maybe put in that one more ball player, because I didn't see the link from defence to midfield to attack working with Fred and McTominay there. But then again, like I said, this is why I give Fred my man of the match, because Fred stood up. Fred surprised me. That was the best I've seen that guy play. And you know what? He probably deserves a run of games now, because if you put a performance like that at the highest level, then Ole would be stupid to drop him. So even if you are going attacking and there's one guy who sort of holds, it has to be Fred. Matic hasn't played. I can't remember. When did Matic play last? Was it Spurs? Yeah, Spurs game. So for me, I'm all for it. There is a change in mentality. I was just gutted that it took a 6-1 defeat for us to actually get our asses in gear. It shouldn't ever be the case. This needs to be the minimum performance all the time, the Newcastle one. The tactical one against PSG, that's what we always seen with Ferguson. You know what, there'd be a certain game where he went a little bit different just to get the result. And you know what, we've got off to the perfect start now. I'm confident that we can get through the group. Couple of wins against the Turkish team, Istanbul, and maybe a couple of draws, get a win against Leipzig, then you're through. And then we're looking forward to it then. But you know what, it took that 6-1 defeat for these players to actually kick into gear. And that's the ultimate worry deep down for me in terms of what's still underlying in these players. Is it going to go off again? Can we get consistent football? That's the big argument now. We know the players can turn up on certain games and beat anyone. Absolutely anyone. We've seen it. We beat all the best teams in our league. And we're beating teams like PSG numerous times. So for me, it's always a worry about when we go off the boil. But then again, so if you look at this season and you're like, oh, who do you make favourites now? It's absolute kamikaze season. You know what? People are talking all sorts, and I would say, you know what? United have got as good a chance as anyone of winning the league this season because it's that open. People are talking about Everton, Villa, unbeaten. I mean, who's seen that coming? So you know what? And you know what? I've seen Liverpool concede 7, City concede 5, us concede 6. It's anyone's game. It really is. It just depends if we can just put some consistent performances going forward. But you know what? You should be giving the guys who played well more of a run. And if players like Fred turn up the way he did, then you know what? He deserves a long shout in the team. He really does.
Yeah, consistency is the key word, isn't it? To be a top team, you have to be consistent, and that's what we haven't been far from that. In terms of Fred, I agree. I did say I felt that Fred and McTominay were going to start because if you remember last season when we beat PSG, it was them two who played in the midfield. It was when we were then to our bare bones. But when you show a bit of faith and a bit of confidence in Fred, he repays you. When he was given a run of games, we saw the form that he was hitting. And I used to call him Fred Flintstone. I didn't see the hype in him before he gave the ball away too much. And he proved me wrong. And I always said he proved me wrong. And I love that he did. And it shows what a run of games can do to a player. So it'll be really interesting. Exactly. But you know what? It's a good place for Ollie to be in. He's going to have a right headache in choosing the team because everybody deserves to start a game. Like I say, I thought Mata was going to come back in against Chelsea. But after that PSG performance, who do you then drop? It's a really awkward one, but a good position to be in, definitely. But in all honesty, what is your hand on heart prediction for the Chelsea game of the weekend?
I cannot see there not being goals in this game. So I'm looking at it going, there's too much talent on that pitch, forward-thinking play. I mean, Werner, Rashford, Bruno, Havertz. You know what? There's so much talent there. I think the attacking talent definitely outweighs the defensive talent. I do think that United are due to get back on track at home, and I do feel like we are in a place now where we've got the players thinking positively. We've got confidence in our team. There's a good atmosphere and camaraderie around, it seems, with Cavani. We've all seen the videos of him integrating quickly. Tellez, like you said, coming straight in. You know what? I'm confident. I'm confident for this weekend. I'm not ignoring the qualities that Chelsea have got to lose the game, but I just feel like our team is a bit more settled than theirs, and for that reason, I'm going to go. I don't want to give the boring, obvious prediction again. I'm going to go 4-2 United. That's what I'm going for.
4-2
United.
4-2. I like that. We're going to outscore them.
I see goals, just goals in this game. That Chelsea defence is shocking. So definitely 4-2 on going forward. Can't see us keeping a clean sheet. I never can. But I can't see them holding us out at all.
I like that. You know what? I'm going to say a United win as well. I think I'm going to go with what Ahmed said there as well. 3-1. I'm going to say a 3-1 United. You know, I think they'll concede. But I think going forwards, I think it all comes down as well who scores the first goal as well. I think
True.
if we score the first goal and we defend like we did against PSG, then I think we'll be fairly confident. But if Chelsea score first, obviously we've got to go at them a bit more. But I think it'd make it more of an exciting game, definitely. But yeah, I still feel like I know Chelsea have signed some quality players. Werner obviously has scored a few goals. But defensively, they're literally been all over the place. They've been awful. And I just feel like we're going to exploit that. I really do. And Martial not being that will affect us. But I think even Rashford, when he played centrally, he looked really good against Newcastle.
Yeah.
There's the confidence from the fact that obviously this was that banging goal against Chelsea top bins as well. That'll be in his head as well. He'll want to replicate that.
And you know what, Soph? That bench could be key because we've got ballers on the bench, then we've got game changers on the bench. So definitely that could come into play as well.
Yeah, I agree. But I do think that both teams will score. I do think it'll be a tight game, but I just feel like we've just got far too much going forwards to not just edge it. That's what I feel. I think they'll just edge it, but I think it'll be an entertaining game to watch. Definitely. And I am excited for it. When it gets closer to kick-off, I'm less excited. I feel more sick and nervous, to be fair. But now talking about it, I'm excited for it. Adam, I want to say thank you so much for joining me on Hair Dry Treatment. I really do appreciate it. If you could just shout out your channel as well and let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, cheers for having us on, Soph. It's been a pleasure. You can catch me at Mad Red United on YouTube, and all my other socials are on that front page as well there. So give me a check out. I'll be on live with our kid actually at 7 o'clock talking over some other subjects.
So definitely go and check out Adam. Some great content over there. Always a pleasure, Adam, to talk. I think we could talk all night about football, especially like I say that performance the other night. The Chelsea game. I'm hoping one of our predictions is right as well because we've both been excited. Fingers crossed. But guys, everyone in the chat, please hit the like button. Hit a like for Adam, being a fantastic guest. Go and subscribe to his channel as well. Hit the sub button here. If I have missed you in the chat, please do drop a comment afterwards, and I'll definitely will check and respond there as well. All I've left to say is have a lovely evening. Go and watch some Europa League if you feel like it, or tune into Emmerdale, whatever you want to do. Go have a good evening. Enjoy yourselves. We'll speak to you very, very soon.